Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez sat in the back row of the Xenohistory classroom, her fingers drumming quietly on the metal desk. The Academy's most boring subject was about to begin, and she already regretted not skipping class. Around her, other human cadets looked equally uninterested as they waited for Professor Kethvar to start his lecture. The professor was a Vorthak, one of the reptilian species that made up the Hegemony Coalition. His green scales caught the artificial light as he moved to the front of the classroom. His yellow eyes swept across the room before he began speaking in his slow, careful manner. Today we will discuss the Great Galactic War, Professor Kethvar announced. The war that ended 50 years ago when your species learned its place in the galaxy. Amy rolled her eyes. She had heard this story 100 times before. Earth had tried to fight the mighty Hegemony Coalition and lost badly. Humanity was forced to surrender and accept being junior members of galactic civilization. It was ancient history, and frankly, Amy found it depressing. The humans, the professor continued, believed they could challenge powers far beyond their understanding. They attacked our peaceful trading vessels and declared war on species that had existed for thousands of years before Earth even developed spaceflight. A cadet near the front raised his hand. Professor, why did Earth think they could win? Professor. Kethvar made a sound that might have been laughter. Arrogance, young human. Your species has always suffered from excessive pride. Earth's leaders believed their primitive weapons could match our advanced technology. They were wrong. Amy shifted in her seat. Something about the way the professor spoke bothered her, but she could not put her finger on what it was. He seemed almost too eager to remind them of humanity's defeat. The war lasted only 18 months, the professor went on. Earth's forces were completely destroyed. Your homeworld was surrounded and forced to surrender. The surrender document was signed on page 47, marking the end of human resistance. Amy's hand shot up before she could stop herself. Professor, you said the document was signed on page 47. What was on page 48? The classroom fell silent. Professor Kethvar stopped moving, his yellow eyes fixed on Amy. For a moment she thought she saw something like fear flash across his reptilian features. There was no page 48, cadet, he said slowly. The document ended with humanity's complete surrender to the Hegemony Coalition. There was nothing more to say. But Amy noticed the way his voice wavered slightly. She had grown up on a military base and had learned to read people. The professor was lying, or at least not telling, the whole truth. Are you sure? Amy pressed. Surrender documents are usually very detailed. They cover terms, conditions, reparations. It seems strange that it would end so abruptly. Professor Kethvar's scales seemed to darken. I am quite certain, Lieutenant. Commander Rodriguez. Perhaps you should focus on accepting your history rather than questioning it. The professor quickly moved on to another topic, but Amy barely heard the rest of the lecture. Something was wrong with the story they had all been told. She could feel it in her bones. After class ended, Amy gathered her things slowly, letting the other students file out first. As she reached the door, she bumped into her friend Jake Martinez, who had been sitting a few rows ahead. That was weird, Jake said quietly as they walked down the corridor together. What do you mean? Amy asked, though she suspected she knew. The way the professor reacted when you asked about that page. My grandfather always gets the same look when someone brings up the war. Amy stopped walking. Your grandfather fought in the war? Jake nodded. He was a communications officer on the front lines, but he never talks about it. Whenever someone mentions Earth's defeat, he just smiles this strange smile and changes the subject. What kind of smile? Hard to describe, like he knows something. Funny that no one else gets. But when I ask him about it, he just says I should focus on the future, not the past. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. Jake, do you think something is not right about the story we have been told? Jake looked around to make sure no one was listening. I have wondered about that for years, but what could be wrong? Everyone knows Earth lost the war. It is in all the history books. All the history books written by the Hegemony Coalition, Amy pointed out. They had reached the cafeteria where the usual mix of human and alien students sat at tables eating lunch. Amy watched a group of Centauri delegates laughing at a nearby table. They were probably twice as old as any human in the room, members of a species that had been traveling between stars when Earth was still discovering fire. "Jake," Amy said, suddenly, "have you ever noticed how the aliens act around us?" "What do you mean?" "Look around. Really look. The way they watch us when they think we are not paying attention. The way they seem nervous when there are too many humans in one place." Jake followed her gaze across the cafeteria. Now that Amy had pointed it out, he could see it too. The aliens were always aware of where the humans were, always careful to maintain distance. It was subtle, but it was there. "You think they are afraid of us?" Jake asked. "I think," Amy said slowly, "that we need to find out what really happened 50 years ago. That information is classified way above our level." Amy smiled. "Then we better find someone with higher clearance." "Amy, this could be dangerous. If you are wrong about this, if there really is nothing to find, we could end up in serious trouble for digging into classified information." "And if I am right?" Amy asked. "If there is something they do not want us to know about our own history?" Jake was quiet for a long moment, staring at his untouched food. Finally, he looked up at Amy with determination in his eyes. "Then we need to know." "The truth," Amy nodded. "Meet me in the library after dinner. We start researching tonight." As they finished their meal, Amy could not shake the feeling that Professor Kethvar's reaction had been more than just annoyance at a difficult question. It had been fear. But what could the mighty Hegemony Coalition possibly have to fear from knowing about an old page in a surrender document? She was determined to find out. Amy spent the next 3 days trying to access information about the Great Galactic War through official channels. Every request came back with the same response: classified, above her security clearance. Even basic historical documents that should have been public knowledge were locked away behind military encryption. She met Jake in the library's computer section, where rows of terminals offered access to the Academy's databases. The place was mostly empty except for a few students working on assignments and one librarian who seemed more interested in her novel than helping anyone. "Any luck?" Jake asked as he sat down next to Amy. "Nothing. Every single document about the war is classified. I can find plenty of information about what happened after the war, but nothing about the actual fighting." Amy pulled up her search results on the screen. "Look at this. I can read about trade agreements signed in the years following the war, cultural exchange programs, even tourism data. But the moment I try to access anything about military operations or battle reports, the system blocks me." Jake leaned closer to the screen. "That does seem strange. Usually wars that happened 50 years ago have at least some declassified information available." "It gets stranger. I reached out to my friend Lisa Thompson in the communications department. She has been monitoring interstellar transmissions for her advanced studies project. She told me something interesting." "What?" "Several alien species that are supposed to be part of the Hegemony Coalition have no military records from the war period. None at all. It is like they did not participate in any fighting." Jake frowned. "Maybe they joined the coalition after the war." "That is what I thought too, until Lisa showed me something else. These species have detailed military records from before and after the war, but there is a complete gap during the 18 months when the fighting supposedly took place." A shadow fell across their table. Amy looked up to see Lisa Thompson standing behind them, her blonde hair tied back in a regulation ponytail. Lisa was one of the best students in the communications program, known for her ability to intercept and decode transmissions that others missed. "I have been looking into what you asked me about," Lisa said, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. "I think you should see this." She sat down and pulled out a small data pad. "Last night there was a diplomatic reception for the Centauri trade delegation. I was assigned to monitor communications for security purposes. Most of it was boring political talk, but I caught something interesting." Lisa activated the data pad and played an audio file. The voices were speaking in Centauri, but subtitles appeared on the screen in English. "The humans still do not know what really happened," one voice said. Good, replied another. Let them believe their defeat was total. It is better for everyone, this way. But what if they find out? What if someone starts asking questions? Who would believe them? The official records are clear. Earth lost the war and accepted their place in the galaxy. The truth is buried too deep for any human to find. The file ended. Amy stared at the screen, her heart pounding. Lisa, are you sure this translation is correct? I ran it through 3 different translation programs. They all came back with the same result. Lisa's voice was barely above a whisper. Amy, what if the story we have been told about the war is not true? Jake shook his head. But that is impossible. Why would they lie about something like that? What would be the point? I do not know, Amy said, but I think we need to find out. Lisa, can you access more diplomatic communications? It would be risky. If I get caught monitoring conversations that are not part of my official duties, I could be expelled from the academy. And if we do nothing, we might never know the truth. About our own history, Amy replied. Lisa was quiet for a moment, then nodded. I will see what I can find. But we need to be careful. If someone is hiding something this big, they will not want us digging around. Over the next few days, the 3 friends worked together to gather more information. Lisa intercepted several more conversations between alien diplomats, all hinting at some great secret involving Earth and the war. Jake used his family connections to contact other veterans, but most of them either refused to talk or gave vague answers that raised more questions. Amy focused on analyzing the official records that were available. She noticed patterns that did not make sense. Supply records showed massive amounts of military equipment being shipped to the front lines during the war, but there were no corresponding records of that equipment being destroyed or captured. Medical records showed surprisingly few casualties among coalition forces for such a major conflict. It is like they fought a war where nobody got hurt and nothing got broken, Amy told her friends as they met in a quiet corner of the station's observation deck. That is not possible, Jake said. Wars are messy. People die. Equipment gets destroyed. There should be massive records of casualties and losses. Unless, Lisa said slowly, the war did not go the way they say it did. Amy felt pieces of a puzzle starting to come together in her mind. Lisa, in those transmissions you intercepted, did anyone ever specifically mention how Earth was defeated? Lisa thought for a moment. No, actually. They talk about the war being over and humans accepting their place, but no one describes any battles or how Earth's forces were destroyed. And Jake, when you talked to your grandfather and the other veterans, did any of them seem sad or angry about losing the war? No, that is what was so strange. They all seemed almost amused, like they were in on some kind of joke. Amy stood up and began pacing. What if Earth did not lose the war? What if something else happened? Something they do not want us to know about? But why would they hide it? Jake asked. If Earth won, why not tell us? Maybe, Amy said, because the truth is more dangerous than the lie. Lisa checked her data pad. I have been monitoring communications all week. There is a big meeting tomorrow between the Coalition High Command and several Earth government representatives. It is being held in the secure section of the station. Can you access the communications for that meeting? Amy asked. Not officially. It is way above my clearance level, but Lisa hesitated. There might be a way to tap into the transmission feed. It would require accessing restricted systems. That is illegal, Jake pointed out. So is lying to an entire species about their own history, Amy replied. The 3 friends looked at each other. They had come too far to turn back now. Whatever the truth was about the Great Galactic War, they were going to find it. When do we do this? Jake asked. Tomorrow night, Amy said. During the diplomatic meeting, if we are going to find answers, that is our best chance. None of them slept well that night. The next evening, Amy, Jake, and Lisa gathered in a maintenance corridor deep in the station's lower levels. The diplomatic meeting was taking place 12 floors above them in the secure conference center. Lisa had spent all day studying the station's communication systems, looking for a way to intercept the meeting's transmissions. I found a way in, Lisa whispered as she connected her portable equipment to a junction box. The diplomatic communications are routed through this relay station before being encrypted and sent to the main conference room. If I can tap into the feed here, we should be able to listen to everything. How long do we have? Amy asked, keeping watch at the corridor entrance. The meeting started 10 minutes ago. It is scheduled to last 2 hours. Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her control pad. Got it. I am picking up the transmission now. She activated a small speaker and voices filled the corridor. Amy recognized the formal tone of diplomatic proceedings, but something about the conversation made her blood run cold. The humans are becoming too curious, a voice said in accented English. Several of our sources report increased interest in war records and historical documents. How much do they know? This voice sounded human, though Amy could not identify the speaker. Very little, but they are asking the right questions. Someone inquired about page 48 of the surrender document. Professor Kethvar reports that a human cadet specifically asked about it. Amy grabbed Jake's arm. That was her question the professor had been discussing with coalition leadership. The human voice spoke again. We knew this day might come. 50 years is a long time to keep a secret this big. Perhaps it is time to tell them the truth. Absolutely not. The alien voice was sharp with panic. Do you have any idea what would happen if the current generation of humans learned what really occurred during the war? The psychological impact alone could be devastating. You mean devastating to us? The human voice replied coldly. Let us not pretend this is about protecting humanity. This is about protecting the coalition from the consequences of what happened. Lisa adjusted her equipment to improve the signal quality. The voices became clearer, and Amy could hear what sounded like papers being shuffled. The agreement was clear. Another alien voice joined the conversation. Earth would accept the defeat narrative in exchange for complete autonomy over the Sol system. No coalition forces would approach Earth, and Earth would not expand beyond its current territories. Both sides have honored that agreement for 50 years. Until now, the human voice said, coalition forces are massing near human colonies. You are preparing to break the treaty. We are not breaking anything. Those forces are for protection against the growing unrest in the outer rim systems. Several species are demanding to know why Earth is treated with such special consideration. Amy felt her world tilting. Treaty? Special consideration? What were they talking about? The human speaker's voice turned dangerous. Special consideration? Is that what you call quarantine? Is that what you call 50 years of lies? It was necessary, the alien voice snapped. After what your species did during the war, after the demonstration of Earth's true capabilities, the galaxy needed time to adjust. Telling them the truth would have caused panic across 100 worlds. Jake was staring at the speaker with his mouth open. Amy, he whispered, are they saying what I think they are saying? Before Amy could respond, the conversation continued, and what they heard next changed everything. The humans destroyed our entire frontline fleet in the first month, one alien voice said quietly. Not defeated, destroyed, completely. Our most advanced warships were turned into scrap metal so quickly that most of our crews did not even have time to send distress signals. And that was before they deployed their real weapons. Another voice added. The things they used in the final battles, our scientists still cannot understand how they work. Which is exactly why the truth must remain hidden, the first alien speaker insisted. If the galaxy knew that Earth not only won the war but won it so decisively that we had to beg for peace terms, there would be chaos. Every species would either try to ally with Earth or flee to the far rim. The human voice laughed, but there was no humor in it. So you decided to flip the script. Make Earth the defeated party. Make humanity think they lost so badly that they were lucky to survive. It worked. For 50 years it worked. Humans accepted their role as junior members of galactic civilization. Earth stayed isolated and focused on rebuilding rather than expanding. The galaxy remained stable. And now? Now someone is asking about page 48. The page that contains Earth's actual terms of victory. The page that grants humanity autonomous control over any system they choose to colonize. The page that recognizes Earth as a sovereign power with the right to defend itself by any means necessary. Amy felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. Earth had won the war, not only won it, but won it so completely that the entire galaxy had agreed to pretend humanity lost rather than admit the truth. Sir, a new voice joined the conversation. Our monitoring stations report unusual activity in the Sol system. Earth's communication networks have been more active in the past week than they have been in the previous 5 years. What kind of activity? Unknown. The transmissions are heavily encrypted using methods we cannot decode. But the volume suggests significant military coordination. There was a long silence before the human speaker responded. Earth knows. Knows what? That you are planning to break the treaty, that coalition forces are massing near human colonies. Did you really think Earth would not notice a fleet of 3,000 warships positioned at the edge of human space? The panic in the alien voices was clear now. How could they know? Earth has no ships beyond the Sol system, no monitoring stations, no way to observe our movements. The human speaker's voice was quietly terrifying. You still do not understand, do you? You still think in terms of the technology you knew 50 years ago. Earth did not stop developing weapons when the war ended. They have had 50 years to improve on the technology that made your defeat so complete. What are you saying? I am saying that Earth has been watching everything you do. Every fleet movement, every diplomatic meeting, every conversation you think is private. They have been waiting patiently for you to break the treaty so they could remind you why you agreed to it in the first place. Amy, Jake, and Lisa sat in stunned silence as the conversation continued. Everything they had been taught about human history was a lie. Earth had not been defeated and humiliated. Earth had won so decisively that the galaxy's major powers had agreed to pretend otherwise rather than face the reality of human military superiority. We need to get this information to other humans, Amy whispered. Are you crazy? Jake hissed back. If what they are saying is true, if Earth really has been monitoring everything, then they already know we are here listening to this conversation. As if summoned by his words, footsteps echoed in the corridor behind them. Amy turned to see a tall man in a military uniform approaching. His insignia showed the rank of captain, but Amy did not recognize him as Academy staff. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, the man said calmly. I think it is time you learned the rest of the story. Captain Rick Stone stood in the doorway of the maintenance corridor, his calm expression showing no surprise at finding them there. Amy, Jake, and Lisa froze, expecting to be arrested for illegally accessing classified communications. Instead, the captain smiled and held up his hands in a peaceful gesture. Relax, he said. I am not here to arrest you. In fact, I have been waiting for someone like you to start asking the right questions. Sir? Amy managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. You want to know the truth about the war, do not you? The real truth, not the sanitized version they teach in the academy. Captain Stone stepped closer, and Amy could see that his uniform bore markings she did not recognize. I can show you, but first you need to understand how dangerous this knowledge is. Jake found his voice. Are you with Earth Intelligence? Captain Stone shook his head. Something like that, but older. Much older. I represent people who have been keeping the real history alive since the day the treaty was signed. We knew that eventually, someone would start questioning the official story. We have been waiting for the right people to ask the right questions. Lisa quickly shut down her equipment, but Captain Stone waved her off. Do not worry about the surveillance equipment. This entire section of the station is shielded from monitoring. We made sure of that years ago. We? Amy asked. Humans who know the truth. Veterans of the war, their children, people in key positions. Throughout human space. We have been preparing for the day when the lies would no longer be sustainable. Captain Stone led them through a series of corridors Amy had never seen before, using access codes that opened doors marked with warnings about authorized personnel only. Finally, they emerged into a large hidden chamber filled with equipment and displays that looked far more advanced than anything in the academy. Welcome to the Real History Department, Captain Stone said. At the center of the chamber stood an older woman with gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She wore civilian clothes, but something about her bearings suggested military background. When she saw the three cadets, she smiled warmly. Dr. Helen Parker, she introduced herself. Former Strategic Planning Director for Earth Defense Command during the war. I was one of the people who wrote the real surrender document. The real surrender document? Amy asked. The one the aliens signed when they begged Earth to stop destroying their fleets, Dr. Parker replied. The document that established the terms under which Earth would allow the galaxy to continue existing. She gestured to chairs around a large table, and the three friends sat down, still trying to process what they were seeing and hearing. I imagine you have questions, Dr. Parker said. Ask them. You have earned the right to know the truth. Did Earth really win the war? Jake asked. Win is too small a word, Dr. Parker replied. Earth did not just win. Earth demonstrated technological and strategic superiority so complete that the hegemony coalition surrendered after losing 90% of their military capability in 18 months. She activated a holographic display that showed star charts and battle formations. The coalition began the war with over 20,000 ships spread across 47 systems. When they surrendered, they had fewer than 2,000 ships remaining, and most of those were damaged beyond immediate repair. How is that possible? Lisa asked. Earth was just beginning to explore interstellar space 50 years ago. How could we have technology that advanced? Dr. Parker smiled. That is the beautiful part. We did not have technology that was more advanced. We had something better. We had human creativity and the willingness to think outside the rules of conventional galactic warfare. The holographic display changed to show technical diagrams of weapons and ships. The aliens had been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Large fleets, direct confrontations, battles that followed predictable patterns. They expected Earth to fight the same way. But we did not, Amy said, beginning to understand. Exactly. Human military strategy focused on speed, deception, and attacking where the enemy least expected it. While coalition fleets were looking for massive Earth battleships, our forces were using small, fast ships that could strike and disappear before the aliens knew what hit them. Captain Stone joined the explanation. Earth ships were not bigger or more powerful than coalition vessels. They were smarter, human-designed artificial intelligence systems that could adapt to new situations faster than alien commanders could respond. And the weapons? Jake asked. Human weapons were designed to be unpredictable, Dr. Parker said. Coalition ships had shields and armor designed to stop energy weapons and conventional missiles. So Earth developed weapons that attacked ship systems directly, bypassing traditional defenses entirely. The holographic display showed a battle scene where small human ships seemed to dance around much larger alien vessels, striking with weapons that caused the alien ships to simply stop functioning rather than exploding dramatically. The final battle was over in 6 hours, Dr. Parker continued. The coalition had assembled their remaining forces for one last desperate attack on the Sol system. Earth's fleet met them at the edge of the system and demonstrated technology that the aliens still do not understand. What kind of technology? Amy asked. Weapons that could disable an entire fleet simultaneously, ships that could appear and disappear at will, communication systems that allowed perfect coordination across impossible distances. Dr. Parker paused. But the most terrifying thing from the aliens' perspective was the realization that everything they had seen was just the beginning of human capabilities. What do you mean? Earth had been holding back during the entire war. The technology used in the final battle was several generations ahead of anything used in the earlier fighting. The coalition realized that humanity had not been giving their best effort. They had been experimenting, learning, improving their weapons and tactics while fighting a war they knew they could win whenever they chose to. Captain Stone leaned forward. The surrender negotiations lasted 3 days. The coalition offered everything: complete withdrawal from human space, massive reparations, formal recognition of Earth as a galactic power. But Earth's leadership had a different idea. The lie, Lisa said quietly. The most brilliant strategic decision in human history, Dr. Parker corrected. Earth's leaders realized that revealing the true extent of human military superiority would terrify the galaxy. Other species would either try to form alliances to destroy Earth, or would become completely subservient out of fear. Neither outcome would lead to long-term stability. So they agreed to the cover story, Amy said. Earth would accept being portrayed as the defeated party in exchange for complete autonomy over human space, and a guarantee that no alien force would ever approach Earth again. The galaxy could save face by claiming they had defeated the dangerous. Humans and Earth could develop in peace without constant threats or attempts at alliances. The holographic display changed to show current star charts, with human colonies scattered across dozens of systems. For 50 years, the arrangement worked perfectly. Earth was left alone to develop new technology and expand human presence throughout the galaxy. Meanwhile, other species remained calm because they believed humanity had been properly contained. But something has changed, Captain Stone said grimly. Coalition forces are massing near human colonies. They think the current generation of humans has forgotten their true history and capabilities. They believe they can break the treaty without consequences. Can they? Jake asked. Dr. Parker and Captain Stone exchanged glances. That depends on what Earth decides to do about it, Dr. Parker said. And that, in turn, depends on whether the human colonies learn the truth about their history in time to make an informed decision. Amy felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. You want us to tell them? I want you to choose, Dr. Parker replied. Now that you know the truth, you have to decide whether humanity should continue living the lie or face the consequences of revealing their real strength. What consequences? War, Captain Stone said simply. But this time, it would be a war where everyone knows exactly how dangerous humans really are. Amy stared at the holographic displays showing coalition fleet movements near human colonies. The massive alien armada was moving into position around New Boston, one of humanity's largest settlements outside the Sol system. According to the intelligence reports, the attack would begin within 48 hours. How many people live on New Boston? She asked quietly. 2 million humans, Dr. Parker replied, plus another million on the smaller colonies in that system. They have no idea what is coming. And Earth knows about this? Captain Stone nodded grimly. Earth has been monitoring coalition fleet movements for weeks. They know exactly when and where the attack will happen. So why have they not warned the colonies? Why have they not sent help? Because officially, Dr. Parker explained, Earth is a defeated world with no military capability. If they suddenly appeared with a massive fleet to defend the colonies, it would expose the truth about the war. The question is whether humanity is ready for that revelation. Amy looked at Jake and Lisa, seeing her own thoughts reflected in their faces. They had stumbled onto the biggest secret in human history, and now they had to decide what to do with. What happens if we do nothing? Lisa asked. The coalition attacks New Boston, Captain Stone said. They expect an easy victory against defenseless human colonists. When Earth inevitably intervenes to save those people, the truth comes out anyway, but under the worst possible circumstances. And if we reveal the truth first, then humanity learns their real history before the shooting starts. They understand what they are capable of and what is at stake. The choice becomes theirs instead of being forced on them by events. Amy stood up and began pacing around the chamber. Dr. Parker, in your opinion, what would happen if every human in the galaxy learned the truth right now? The older woman considered the question carefully. Initially, shock and confusion. Many people would refuse to believe it. But once the evidence sunk in, I think you would see something remarkable. Humanity would remember what they are capable of when they work together, and the aliens, they would be terrified. Some would try to make peace before Earth decides to expand beyond current human territory. Others would try to strike first, believing their only hope is to destroy Earth before humanity remembers its full strength. Jake spoke up from his chair. Dr. Parker, you keep talking about Earth's hidden capabilities. How much more advanced has Earth become since the war ended? Dr. Parker smiled, and for the first time, Amy saw something that might have been pride in her expression. Jake, the technology Earth used to win the war 50 years ago would be considered primitive by current standards. Earth has had 5 decades to develop weapons and ships without any outside interference or threats. How primitive? Amy asked. Captain Stone answered. The weapons that disabled entire coalition fleets in minutes during the war? Current Earth technology could accomplish the same thing in seconds, across multiple star systems simultaneously. That is impossible, Lisa protested. No one can project force across interstellar distances instantaneously. No one except Earth, Dr. Parker corrected gently. Lisa, what do you think Earth scientists have been doing for 50 years while the galaxy believed humans were broken and defeated? They have been working on problems that other species consider impossible to solve. Amy felt a chill as the implications became clear. The coalition has no idea what they are about to face. None, Captain Stone confirmed. They are planning their attack based on what they think they know about human capabilities. They believe they are attacking defenseless colonies protected by nothing more than local security forces. Instead, they are about to discover that Earth has been watching them the entire time, Dr. Parker added. Every ship movement, every communication, every strategic decision. Earth's intelligence network spans the entire galaxy, and the coalition never suspected it existed. Amy made her decision. We have to tell them, all of them. Every human colony, every ship, every settlement. They deserve to know the truth about their own species. Amy, Jake said cautiously. Once we do this, there is no going back. Everything changes. Everything is about to change anyway, Amy replied. The only question is whether humanity faces that change knowing who they really are, or whether they face it still believing they are the defeated remnants of a broken world. Lisa nodded slowly. She is right. If Earth is as powerful as you say, then the coalition is about to make a fatal mistake. But our people should not face that moment believing they are helpless. Dr. Parker activated a communication console that looked unlike anything Amy had seen before. This will broadcast on all human civilian and military frequencies simultaneously. Every human ship, station, and colony will receive the message. What about Earth? Amy asked. Will they know what we are doing? Captain Stone smiled. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, Earth has been monitoring this conversation since the moment you walked into this chamber. They have been waiting 50 years for someone to make this choice. Amy stepped up to the communication console. What should I say? The truth, Dr. Parker replied simply. Tell them what really happened 50 years ago. Tell them what is happening right now. Let humanity decide for itself what comes next. Amy took a deep breath and activated the transmitter. Across human space, communication systems came alive as her voice reached every settlement, every ship, every outpost where humans lived and worked. This is Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez, broadcasting on all frequencies. What I am about to tell you will sound impossible, but it is the truth about our history and our future. She told them everything, the real story of the war, the fake surrender, the treaty that granted Earth complete autonomy in exchange for maintaining the lie. She told them about the coalition fleet massing to attack New Boston, believing they would face defenseless colonists. As Amy spoke, something remarkable happened across human space. Communication networks that had been silent for 50 years suddenly came alive. Ships that appeared to be civilian transports revealed advanced military systems. Colonies that seemed defenseless activated defense networks more sophisticated than anything the galaxy had ever seen. And from Earth itself, a single transmission reached every human receiver in the galaxy. The voice was calm, authoritative, and utterly confident. This is Admiral Kevin Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. We have been waiting. Amy finished her broadcast and stepped back from the console. Around her, the hidden chamber filled with activity as monitoring stations tracked the human response across dozens of star systems. Look at this, Lisa called out, watching a tactical display. Ships are appearing everywhere. Where did they all come from? They were always there, Captain Stone explained. Hidden in asteroid fields, disguised as mining stations, embedded in commercial shipping routes. Earth has had a full military presence throughout human space for decades. The tactical display showed the coalition fleet approaching New Boston, confident in their overwhelming numbers. 3,000 alien warships against what they believed was a defenseless human colony. Then Earth's true fleet revealed itself. From hidden positions throughout the system, human ships appeared. Not the primitive vessels the Coalition expected, but sleek advanced craft that moved like they were alive. The alien fleet suddenly found themselves outnumbered 3-1 by ships whose capabilities they could not even guess at. Coalition fleet. Admiral Brooks's voice rang out across the system. You are in violation of the treaty signed 50 years ago. You have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw from human space. The Coalition commander's response was broadcast on all frequencies. Earth forces, you are defeated remnants of a broken world. You have no authority here. 50 years ago, Admiral Brooks replied calmly, your predecessors learned what happens when you underestimate human resolve. Would you like a reminder? What happened next lasted less than 10 seconds. The Coalition fleet simply stopped. 3,000 warships went dark simultaneously, their systems disabled by weapons the aliens could not detect or understand. Not a single ship was destroyed, but every single vessel was rendered completely powerless. Then Admiral Brooks delivered the message that would reshape galactic politics forever. Attention all species of the Hegemony Coalition. 50 years ago, you agreed to a treaty that established Earth as a sovereign power, in exchange for allowing you to save face by claiming humanity had been defeated. You have now broken that treaty. His voice carried across every communication system in the galaxy. The real page 48 of the surrender document grants humanity the right to establish colonies in any system we choose, and to defend ourselves, by any means necessary. We are hereby exercising those rights. Amy watched as the tactical displays showed Coalition fleets across the galaxy, receiving the same treatment as the force at New Boston. Everywhere alien ships had been massing near human space, they were systematically disabled by weapons they never saw coming. The age of pretending Earth lost the war is over, Admiral Brooks concluded. Humanity is taking its rightful place in the galaxy. We hope this can be accomplished peacefully, but that choice is yours. Amy looked around the chamber at the faces of her friends and the people who had trusted her with the truth. What happens now? Dr. Parker smiled. Now humanity remembers what it means to be human.